Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey started life as an arcade title before eventually making its way over to Nintendo 64. I didn't know it was an arcade title, so that was a surprise to me, so that was cool. Sometime later, Nintendo 64 owners got an updated version called Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 that somehow never got an arcade release, and instead, PlayStation owners were given a slice of that Gretzky 3D pie. So how does it stack up compared to its N64 rivals? Eh. 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 Meh. So let's get the basics out of the way in case you haven't seen the previous two videos, cause it's the same game all over again. But in any event, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 is a hockey video game that tosses aside realistic hockey simulation and rules in favor of high-speed arcade antics where you shoot flaming pucks and goalies morph into stone walls. In terms of features, it's the same as the N64 version. You could play a quick exhibition game or partake in a season mode of various sizes, whether it be whole seasons, just the playoffs, or just play against the teams and, one after another or something. You have features such as trades and other minor player customization bits, as well as a practice mode of sorts. And of course, you have your choice between arcade mode's 3-man fast-paced hockey game, which is the standard default, and the loose but more accurate sim mode with full teams and more rules in effect. This is the third time I'm playing this game. The first two being on the N64, and since it's on a different platform, one would figure a somewhat different experience due to the differing hardware components between both platforms. Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 on the PlayStation might have some differences from its N64 counterpart, but for the most part, none of it really affects the gameplay as it's pretty much on par with the other version. Gameplay is fairly fast-paced and solid, with controls being somewhat functional for its purposes. Playing this with a PlayStation controller does feel a bit awkward for me, but that feeling soon subsided quickly enough. There are some minor changes between this release and the N64 version, mostly in terms of the roster, but that shouldn't be too much of a big deal unless you're a stickler for historical details. Multiplayer, as expected, is restricted to 2 players, unless you have a multi-tap device on hand to include up to 4 players. There also doesn't seem to be any cheat codes since the buttons in the menus operate differently than they did on the N64. Trying those same inputs or close to it on this version of the game doesn't work. It's a bit of a shame because cheat codes tend to add more value to a game, whether it be extra funny bits in the debug mode or just extra teams. They exist on this version and no one's found them yet apparently, but that's okay, whatever. Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 for PlayStation looks no better than it did on Nintendo 64. The N64 version might have smoother polygons, while on here, everything looks a bit more jaggier and uglier and less good. The menu's got a bit of a redesign here, as did some of the mugshots. All in all, it's a bit of a mixed bag and, well, to be fair, the N64 version, at best, was never going to win any awards in the looks department, but it didn't look too bad, I suppose. This version, I've seen worse, I'll be honest. I will say, however, that this version feels a bit faster than the N64 version, but that could easily be mind games being played at this point. I've played this thing 3 times. Actually, I've played it 4, as we'll see next time, but that's for next time. Sound quality is almost on par with the N64 version, which is rather shocking, I think, because the one thing I figure would be an improvement on the PlayStation side would be the audio. CD quality music, slightly sharper sounds, that sort of thing. No, it's just the N64 tracks, and it sounds recycled and sampled onto the disc. It sounds a bit, less clear or something. Honestly, if there's any real differences between the two versions, in terms of the audio, they're so minute that they're practically unnoticeable. It's a bit of a shame, really. The commentary is still there, though, so that's something. Really got not much else to say there, so oh well. Overall, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 on the PlayStation is not a bad port of the N64 version. I read a review on GameFAQs calling this a somewhat sloppy port, and I don't know if I'd go that far. It's not the most amazing piece of work ever, and, well, to be fair, even the N64 original tends to be lacking in substance, but makes up for it as a neat party game if nothing else. Now, I don't know if I'd go that far with the PlayStation version, since you do need a multi-tap device for 4-player fun, but even 2 players can have a ball with this one if they're willing to give it a shot, I guess. All in all, it's an okay port for what it is, but all the same, I'd recommend just getting the N64 version, since it's slightly better, cheaper, presumably easier to find, and the chances of a scratched up CD is less than 0. That's all I got. Good night.
That's the end of the game.